Yeah, you matter of fact, you give us this.
That's why I'm keeping it this way, because it's closer.
You want to cut yours off?
No, she wouldn't have to do that. She have
No, because I might have something I need to interject.
Okay, actually, we're live right now on Facebook Live.
What's up, Facebook?
Hey, Facebook.
Hey, Facebook, what's going on?
I ain't on
Wait,
Facebook
is
no
it
more. They
camera
kicked me
catching
out.
Yep.
Yep.
Everybody.
Hey, Facebook Live, it's been a while. We're so excited to be back. Good topics today.
They
I
kicked
thought
me
somebody
off
else was going to chime in on something.
I was going to say they kicked me off Facebook, so I ain't going to.
Oh, you're a Facebook person?
Huh?
You're a Facebook person?
No, they kicked me off. They said
They
my name wasn't my name.
Oh.
Well, let me say I removed myself from the process because you had to show your government ID
Oh,
on
no,
Facebook.
never mind.
I
I'd
was
be like,
like,
never mind, it's not that
y'all
deep.
already doing data breaches and shit. I'm not giving you my license.
All right, let's get it started. Hey, welcome back to the Culture Divide Experiment. My name is Barry J, and we are in a new home. We got a new format. We have exactly where are we? We're on the living stage inside the RL Hotel in the Inner Harbor, Baltimore. She was clowning earlier because she didn't think I was going to be able to say all that together.
That's a tongue twister.
That is
You
a
gotta
tongue
admit. We were just hoping we didn't have that, journalist MOK slip. Did anybody catch that?
Yeah.
I was like, that's not gonna happen.
But see, we don't normally say that. So
No, we don't.
That only
So-
happens if you used to saying things
Yeah.
like that. We just
That
kind
is
of slips
true.
right on out. That's how I took it.
Yeah, I did too.
I didn't catch it right away, but once I watched the video, I was like,
Yeah, he
okay.
says that on the regular. That's
But,
like an inside joke.
Hey, welcome back. Let me introduce you to the squad. First off, to my left, your right, my rock, my ace, my everything, my partner, my business partner, my she gonna tell it like it is to me every single time. My wife, SJ. Welcome back, baby.
Thank you so much. Good to be back.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. To my right, your left. Make sure I'm going that right.
That's gonna get confusing.
Hey, as long as you're watching, you're okay. Now, if you're listening to the podcast, my bad. Just listen. Okay. She is the ultimate network connector. She's on her way to being a DC socialite. Because I see her at I'm at stuff like, how you get in here? Oh, this is my thing. She's at every important event in DC. She's a communications guru, Miss Lauren B. Welcome back, Lauren.
Hey, it's good to be here. What's going on?
Hey, and I cannot forget my man.
Who's looking uninterested? Like, yeah.
No, he's checking the social media to see who's following him now. He's an educator, he's a trainer, he's a mentor, and most importantly, he's a rider, he's a bike rider. I had to make sure I put it out there. His vocabulary is vast, his conversation is on another level. My man, Big Kev, what's good, brother? How's everything, man?
What's going on, man?
I want to make sure I welcome everybody back and introducing everybody here. I just want to make sure I let everyone know, and I do a special shout out to some of our original folks that was on the show with us. Miss Yomi St. Wick, we think about you, we miss you, can't wait to have you back. We're a lot closer in now, so we don't have to go on the other side of Baltimore. We're in the Inner Harbor, where it's a lot more fun. We actually have a bar around the corner, some coffee and everything. So
Breakfast.
Breakfast.
Which I think is complimentary. Like, I didn't see it.
They might compliment you for ordering.
So they did charge you. It's not free.
Okay, that would.
And I have to send a very special shout out to Aaron and Fisher, who helped us plan this. They are the coordinators and in charge of the living stage, which is where we're going. So I'm going to put a link in our show notes on if you want to come up here and be part of the living stage. This is something that the Hotel RL does on a regular basis. We're booked all the way through February. We're going to be coming back in March. We are set up to actually have a live audience. If you're looking at us, you'll be able to sit right out there and
Come be a part of the show.
Be a part of the show.
Yes.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, special shout out to our sponsor, Compliance. Compliance with the Y. Compliance is a digital backpack that stores all your certifications, permits, licenses all in one place. Compliance gives you 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, and pass-through reminders on all of your certifications. You'll never miss another renewal. You'll be compliant with compliance. I'll put them in our show notes.
You'll be compliant.
That's www.complyance.net. All right? Now, all that stuff is out of the way.
Wait a minute, we can't forget, we gave shout outs to our previous host. You forgot about Love, Miss Love Davis.
My bad.
Right here, a Baltimore native. How could you do
Love,
that?
I sent you a special invitation to come out. I know it was late, it was this morning. But you always have a spot here. Anytime. And if we're doing that, we also got a little love out to Miss Tia Hamilton.
Oh
for
yeah, Miss Tia
putting us
Hamilton.
on
Oh yeah,
to this whole
WMSK
lifestyle.
Online, who put us on and gave us our first shot and opportunity, and we're forever grateful for that.
And
We're getting to be like one of those like daytime TV talk shows. Like how many posts have we gone through?
Right.
Not because we're bad or anything, you know what I mean?
Well, we had some logistics things going on.
We're like the Destiny's Child. Like, no, it's hard. It's really hard.
This is the real deal.
Right. But the one thing I want to say about the Culture Divide experiment is it is fluid. So you're going to see us change around some stuff. You're going to see us on different places. This is going to be our home. We're going to be taking it again live, and you'll see shows from us on a weekly basis. So we have a lot of topics we're going to talk about. We're going to have some fun, and let's get into it. But I do want to know what's everybody been up to.
Oh man, everything.
Lauren, what you been up to?
Let me see. Living my best life out here in these DC streets.
With the hair flip.
With the hair flip. Also, and I have to give a special shout out to the lovely ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We just had our Founders Day, so that's what the hair flip was for.
It seems like everybody's Founders Day is like in the
It's
same
in
month.
January,
Is there
yeah.
one month that they all started?
The only one that matters is day 15. Everybody knows it. But no, I just had my Founders Day for my sorority. Let's see. I don't know, parenting, loving on my kids. They drive me crazy. I gotta put them in headlocks sometimes, but it's what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Not much, still out here grinding, trying to build my empire, connecting the dots.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I'm connecting some dots this week. So I'll be making some business moves happen. I do my things low key though. I'll wait until it's ready and
Hey,
put it out.
keep it
I like
silent.
that. Let it blow up. I like that.
Real bosses move in silence.
Yes.
They don't tell everybody everything.
Nope.
SJ, what you got going on?
Oh wow, I mean, I've been working on a lot of different things. I'm actually, believe it or not, actually penning my book as we speak. So, working on that, and, I've been globetrotting this year. I've been out here. Where haven't I been? It's probably the better question.
Canada? Oh, not this year, but last year.
Well, yeah. See how quickly it went? It came and went. Yeah. Canada, West Coast, spent a lot of time in both places, and just trying to do it, trying to make some changes.
Kev.
Yeah, let's talk about Kevin. Because if he don't talk about it, I'm gonna talk about it.
Kev.
I said I wasn't gonna talk about it, so I'm gonna let him
go
talk.
straight to the meat and potatoes of it all.
Tell us what you're doing,
Tell us
bro.
what you're doing.
I am helping men achieve happiness. So right now, I am I'm using the talents and skills that I've had. I teach communication in college. Now I'm extrapolating that information. I'm bringing it up.
Did you just TI us extrapolating that information?
Well, I got the degrees,
Y'all, he just TI'd y'all. He just extrapolated that information to get to the next connection of his destination.
But doesn't Kevin always do that? Doesn't he always do that?
So I'm helping
I don't know what
men.
you're talking about right now.
I'm helping men be happier with women and with their life, but primarily with women. So I'm doing date coaching now and helping these fellas get on their game. Because let's be honest, a lot of y'all spend a lot of weekends at home in the wintertime playing Fortnite and shit. Well, y'all need to be playing some other things. So holler at me.
Keep it PG.
Introverted Kev on Instagram, on YouTube. You can follow my videos, holler at me, give me some answers, ask me if you need to talk about some things, and we're gonna get you straight, so that way you can leave you shouldn't be out there buying the next PlayStation. You should have other things to do. That's all.
So just so I'm clear, you are a dating coach.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna move right into our show now.
So, and I'm gonna talk
Yeah,
about
very good.
I didn't get a chance to talk about what I'm doing. Working on my new book.
We're all gonna have book releases.
Oh yeah, but it's starting off with the podcast first. The podcast is going to be called "I'm a Bad Effing Employee," and I'm going to be focused on making sure that you, as a business owner, are hiring the right people. You, as a manager, are training the right people. You, as a frontline employee, are being called out when you know you're not that good of an employee, but you think just because you show up at 9 and leave at 5 that you really are. So we're gonna have those type of conversations about, you know, things that you think you're really good about, but the reality is you're really not that good, and we're gonna work on how we get better, because I know for a fact I'm not the greatest employee. I know that. I'm taking that to heart, but it comes from not being in the right environment. So that's what the podcast. We got to get you on the right bus. You know,
so here go the funny thing, because you go find out if you ain't no good employee with this furlough going on.
Right,
you gotta go to work and you ain't getting paid.
Hey, listen. And at the same
we
time,
find out who good employees right there.
You got to figure out your hustle too. You got to figure out if you're on the right hustle, because you know a lot of you know that I've been hustling for the last 20-some years, whether it be a bartender, other businesses that I've done, taking over my pop's painting business, so we've been doing some painting as well, so we're reaching out, we're trying to do some different things, so my heart goes out to all my folks that are on furlough, my heart, my prayers, we're with you. Check our page, we've been posting where you can get some groceries, some meals, and all those other things, so keep that in mind. Okay?
I think, but let's really just pause there for a second, because every time you say that at home, right, it's like, at what point do you stop hustling and you really live out your passion? We can have hustles all day and all night, but is hustling really what you want to do to achieve your dreams? You get what I mean? Hustle is a mindset of, you know, this is something I'm doing at the moment to, you know, make what I'm trying to achieve at this moment happen. Mm-hmm. But a hustle doesn't make you achieve your dreams, right?
Let me give you this thought though on that. You can now look at some things Barry doing. So you teach now, you teach bartenders, you train bartenders. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't have that unless you were a bartender. So you had to start somewhere, get that knowledge, and then now you're able to pass it on.
True.
So I think what I know from Barry is he enjoys the art of educating people on different things.
But then at that point, it's not a hustle.
It's still a hustle.
Well, and I'll clarify in my own defense.
There you go. Let me not bury it.
Right. So I have always been a hustler, but for the last, I'm going to say 5 years, I've grown into this person that's a grower. So I want to make sure I'm always growing. Hustling means to me that I'm always on the grind. I can't stop.
Right.
I want to make sure that I'm in a growth process where when I'm not working, something's still working for me.
Right.
So the hustle in me, in my younger days, I don't even have the energy to do that anymore.
Right.
But now it's more about how can I set things in process so that my money's is coming in when I'm not working. So
I think it's the difference between the hustler, so being out hitting the pavement, and then managing your hustle. When you actually achieve the passion, and then like you said, you get to sit back and kind of see it do its own thing, right? So you got the hustler, but then you have the hustle. And I think to a certain extent, everybody has to decide what is your hustle, right? And then you have to capture that. That's your 2019 dream for me. There you go.
And I like that because I was here, last month. And for big shout out to Rachel, one of the authors behind Love Behind the Blue Line. And she was the one who introduced me to the folks here at Hotel RL on the Living Stage. So thank you very much, Rachel. But we were here, loved the place. Rachel's also, let's get everyone else caught up. We're going to be at her next event, which is the Mothers and Sons event. We're doing that again. This year we were there last year, had a great time. We're going to be doing that again. That's February 19th. So ladies, mothers with your sons, come on out, especially in the Baltimore area. There's going to be some amazing workshops. We're going to be doing a panel again, and just it's a growth period for all of us. And I forgot where I was going with that. By even mentioning that, so we're going to do that. So I have like 3 other co-hosts that can kind of chime in at any time when they want to.
Just go dropping knowledge, man.
Something you'll also see that I'm sure we've done obviously in the past before, but we're going to do more of this year, 2019, is we're going to have exciting guests on stage. But not just having them here to ask them questions, but giving them an opportunity to talk about their hustle, but also giving you all an opportunity to ask them about how you can mirror their hustle too, right? So that's part of, I think, the beauty of an environment like this, is that having you all here in the flesh, seeing the show in progress and actually being able to engage with us in real time, I think will absolutely change the dynamic for the better. So that's part of the switch to this environment, is we want you all here real time, engaging with us, talking to us, pushing us and helping us push the needle too when it comes to the conversations that we're having with our guests.
I think we got a new segment, Hustle with Lauren.
I do connect the dots. I'm a dot connector. That's what I do. I always know somebody who knows somebody.
And she
Your
does,
network
actually.
is your net worth.
It really is. So let's get into a topic here, and I just watched Blackish, which is one of my favorite shows right now, and I wish they could. I wish they had an hour-long show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I really wish they had. I find that at the end of the show, I'm like,
You want more,
I
right?
want more.
Yeah.
They're closing it up. I'm like, no, we're not finished.
Yeah, the conversation can still go.
And
Yeah.
I have to talk about what was on. I think it was this past week. Are you a colorist?
So I didn't get to watch the actual episode, so you'll have to give me some background.
Okay.
I saw some social media posts of it.
Mhm.
I have an idea because Diane, which is the youngest daughter, was struggling because she felt like she was the darkest one in the family, right? But I didn't watch the episode, so give me some
So
background.
just to give you a quick synopsis, the Dre and what's my name? Rainbow. They came. You know, they were looking at the class picture.
Jack and Diane.
Jack shows. You know, you can see Jack clearly, but Diana was up in the upper right-hand corner, and the lighting was off, so you could not see her. They just looked at where's Diane? Where's Diane? And they could not find her. And there was a so they were in outrage. They called the principal. It was like, we're coming down, and you know how Dre's in the background. We're gonna come down and handle our business. You know, Rainbow, handle that. Kick her in. I'm not gonna kick anyone. You know their normal comedic ways. But then it grew into something else where. So the mother comes in, grandmother comes in, and she was like, what's going on? And she's like, Diane wasn't lit properly in the picture. The lighting was wrong. And she said, oh, we're going down to see the principal, and talk about
She said it's Rainbow. You're going to go beat up.
Right, exactly. She's going to go beat up the principal. And at that point, it became this thing of in the house where it was light-skinned folks against dark-skinned folks.
Well, they felt like that's how it always was, but this was the first time they were having a conversation about it.
So the family, if you watch Blackish, is truly a rainbow. You have different spectrums in there, and it's the first time they actually talked about it.
Okay.
So I love the fact that the oldest son, he's coming to his own now. He is not afraid of his father.
No, and
Junior.
he gives good singers too.
Right.
With Dre, he's good. It's classic.
He's giving them some serious stuff now, and he was like, "Oh, we're having the colorist conversation." He said, "Because all you guys are colorists," and of course Dre's like, "Why would you say something like that?" He's like, "Yeah." So then Junior and Rainbow are on one side because they're the fair skin and lighter skin, and it's like y'all always make jokes about us, and like. The mom and Dre are like, what? No, we don't make any jokes about you guys. And then it became this thing was like, all right, the second we make a joke, then it's hurtful. When you guys make jokes like, it's funny, it's light skin privilege and all that type of stuff. So I thought it was interesting how they were having this dynamic inside the family, not outside. And even Dre got into it about the whole brown paper bag thing, where at some point you couldn't get into the function or the party if you didn't have the
or sororities or fraternities.
Right.
If you didn't have pass the brown paper bag through.
So,
I'm so glad we had some representation of this. I felt the shade.
You felt things on my face.
Right. She just put there.
But I understand the historical relevance of what you're saying, right? And there was a time where that stereotype, true or not, was widely known.
Yeah.
I said true or not was widely known or held. So I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
So within the family became a friction.
Okay.
Even to the point where I can't remember the mom's name, who she's been around forever, but I love her role on there because she is powerful.
Yeah.
And Diane actually got upset after everyone was arguing.
Right?
Yes, Jennifer Lewis.
Powerful actress. I've been watching for years. I mean, I love the fact when she comes out and she
wrote a book called, I think, Hollywood's Mother or Mother of Black Hollywood or something like that.
And she, after they the arguments escalated, and everyone kind of went their separate ways, Diane finally chimed in, was like, the reason why I don't like talking about color is because how important it is, how bad it makes me feel. So like then they gave examples of, she's in the nurse's office, and they put a Band-Aid on her knee, and then there's a young white girl next to her, and the Band-Aid matches perfectly. But on Diane's skin tone, just it's just out there.
Right.
And I can't remember the other example. Where
well, the lipstick.
The lipstick. Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it was a darker skinned woman that said, no, sweetie.
We don't wear that.
Women our complexion don't wear that color.
But this is the one. This is the one that just, I've been hearing this since I was yay-high. Oh, you're pretty for a dark skin girl.
Yeah.
And like, to hear someone say that, and you're pretty for a dark skin, why can't you just be pretty? Why can't you just be beautiful?
Yeah. That's like you're giving a compliment and taking it back.
Right. So that's where the whole colorist thing came from. So
what was the resolution on the show? Like, how did it end?
So, they always wrap it up at the end with a hug. The mom realized that she was being hurtful to Rainbow and promised not to be that way because Rainbow at some point lashed out and was like, "You're a monster."
She was like, "No."
And she was like, "I'm not a monster. That's what they called me when I was a child. I am no one's monster." And it was a powerful moment. And like I said, I wish it could have been a whole hour-long show because they could have gone way deeper, but that's what we're here for.
Right. Yeah. I mean, basically, it was just the thing of Rainbow not understanding the challenges that Dre's mom had went through as a child growing up, being the darker skinned child in her family, because her family was part Creole, so everyone else was of fairer skin. So where she felt like she was always lashing out at her, she didn't realize that the things that she was saying were hurtful to her as well. So I think that we all experience it. I mean, we can go down all our
I was
family.
going to say, we probably all have more than enough story and information on it. I mean, today, so it's actually interesting. I have two kids. I have a son and a daughter. And literally my kids were split. Like, my daughter looks just like her dad, and then my son looks just like me, which essentially means like I have one brown child, and then I have one fair-skinned child. Yeah. And depending on where we are, people will automatically say, "Oh, she looks just like her dad." Just strictly based. I mean, they don't even take a time to look at her face. Just based on her complexion, and then they'll look at my son and say, "Oh, he looks just like you." Again, without even looking at the features or taking that into consideration. And for a little while, my son, I believe, was kind of struggling with that. Right. Like, why am I brown? Why is my sister more fair? And in my home, the way I grew up, and I don't know if this is a New York thing or what it is, but I didn't grow up with family members who talked about color often. And I don't know how to describe that. Like, it just wasn't a conversation. It was, and I have a rainbow of a family.
It was black and black.
Right, and it was just like, you black, you black. Like, that's just what it is, And like, even my grandmother's very fair, but like, we just, it wasn't a conversation. It was just like, we all family, we all here together. Doesn't matter what color you are, doesn't matter what the texture of your hair is. But then I have friends who grew up below the Mason-Dixon line, as I like to say, who grew up in Maryland and below, and that was a conversation in their house all the time. Right. And it was not a conversation of, and these are my friends and I, we're in our 30s, right? So we're not talking about we grew up in the 60s or something like that. Like, we grew up in the 90s, 80s, 90s. And from my friends who I have, they always tell me that the conversations were in joking, like we're in laughing manner, similar to what Blackish was trying to say, like, "Oh, with your high yellow self, oh, you acting real light-skinned." Right. And I never understood how, I really didn't understand the effect of it until two of my girlfriends kind of were at opposite ends on things. And one girlfriend is dark brown skin and the other one is fair skin. And my fair-skinned girlfriend was like, I've always had people come and attack me because I'm light-skinned. Like, I've always had girls who didn't like me because I'm fair-skinned. And then my brown-skinned friend was like, well, I've always felt like light-skinned women think they're better than me because they're light-skinned. And so I've always had a disposition towards light-skinned women because I automatically walk in the room like, oh, she thinks she's better than me. Right. And for me, I walk in the room like, I'm just happy to see black people here. Like, I'm like, oh, it's another sister. Like that, and that is my mindset because that's the way I was raised. I just wasn't. It's not that I don't see the differences, but I don't see it as a dividing thing. Right. Yeah. It's not a dividing thing. I see it as a like, oh, we're different, but we're black. Right. Right. Whereas a lot of my friends see it as like a line in the sand.
No, it's funny you mentioned that. And Kevin, let me just say this one thought before I forget. You mentioned when you walk into a certain room, like I can speak from corporate America, being in that type of environment. It doesn't matter what color you are. You look up and you see somebody of another color or brown, light, doesn't matter. You look at you giving a head nod like, I see you, thank God there's another one in here. Because I'm feeling lonely right now.
Right, but that only works for that environment where if I walk into that room and I give Kev the head nod, that he even is on the same wavelength.
To give you the head nod back.
There are a lot of times you walk into a room and it's one more person and they ain't on that page with you.
Right.
So you like, oh, what's up? And he's like,
they brand new.
Yeah, because sometimes they're trying to keep the social contract and depending on what the situation you're in. Now, to your point, on my father's side, we all about the same color. And my father's family is very small. On my mother's side, however, she got like 7 different, I think like 6 or 7 brothers, gamut of color scheme, you know what I'm saying? And when I used to go visit them, I never looked at them as, oh, you're lighter, so you're better, or you're worse because you're darker, or something like that. I just like, they my family. They just people. I never had that, and I always wondered why, like, I think, and I want to say that I think it might be a female thing because I don't see, my mother had many brothers, but she only had one sister, and her sister is like the spectrum from between me and you. Different, whole different color. My grandmother is dark skinned, when mom came out like my complexion. So it didn't, I don't think because of them they may have had issues, but because they were the only 2 females,
it's
they
not
stood
a female
together.
thing. It's
But
not.
I never seen families where they, like, I don't, like
In
what
our
you're saying, I don't understand why our family.
Yeah, but
do
in
that to
our
each other. It's
community,
like,
but in our community, and so but you know this because you're college educated,
But I
and
don't
you
never
know
had
in
that
our
ex-
community what the color divide, what it did. You know what it did in
Because
the
you know
slave
history,
field,
you know history.
right? You know what it did when we were slaves, and you know what it did when we moved to New Orleans, and there were a whole community of free black people who were Creole, and then the Creole people who had slaves, who owned slaves, who were enslaved. You know, so that you know what it did to our community. I don't think it's a female thing at all. I just think that it depends.
I mean now, I'm talking about now. Like
Oh,
they
now.
hadn't
I
done-
still-
I
think it's a
mean,
female
it's
thing.
not, because even like, for example, on the show, Junior gave an example. We've all seen the video where they had the albino lion, and because he was the light-skinned, or he was an albino lion, they got his hair straightened and he's singing at this high pitch. And then I seen it, it went around social media.
Okay, we
all
should
over
not
the-
laugh. We
No,
should
No,
not
but the
laugh.
point,
Right, that was
but the
funny.
point that he was
Or maybe
making
you
is
should.
that,
What we
funny,
do.
man.
that but the point that they were making is that because he was a lighter skin tone, that he had to be soft,
And he had to be
or that
soft.
he was more feminine.
Yes, yes.
And I mean, and I think that's, I know that a lot of that comes from the history. You know what I mean? Like in the history, what it was is that the darker skinned man, he was out in the fields, like you said, whereas the lighter skinned male had the cushier job of being in the house. So I get where the connotations come from, but it's not fair. Like, no one should look at anybody, male or female, and say, oh, you're real handsome for a dark-skinned dude. You'd be like, what? Like, what? I'm either handsome or I'm not, or I'm either beautiful or I'm not. It's the same thing if someone says, oh, you know what, you dress really nice for a fat girl. What? You'd be like, that's giving me a compliment, but
We're in
taking
a
it
bizarre
back.
world or something. Somebody says,
Exactly. But
I just
people
don't-
say things
yeah.
like that, and it's that whole mindset of, that's even when someone says, oh, I like your little shoes.
why my shoes
Oh, my
gotta be
shoes
little?
gotta be little.
Why gotta be little? Like, I can't give you a compliment without taking something
Without
away.
Oh, funny story. I have a friend of mine, and I won't say his name because he's probably watching, but he says that I'm that person like, your little shoes, your little hat, your little purse. I don't do that, but I understand what you're trying to say. It's just backwards, you know, a compliment. It's not really a compliment.
No, it's not.
It's shade, you know. It's like, oh, no shade, just tease.
And you gotta call people out on that.
Yeah.
When people say things like that, if someone says that to me, like, oh, I like your little purse. Okay, so I take it that you really
big
don't
purse,
like
really,
it.
really don't like
Right,
it.
you don't really like it, right? You know what I mean?
Like
Like,
a
But they're
double
really
bag.
yeah, it's like, don't compliment me to try to feel like you need something to say. I'm a strong believer in, if I don't have anything nice or positive to say, you can see that I'm quiet.
I think it's also.
And I think more people need to practice that.
I think it's also a reminder of how much work we have to do.
Oh yeah.
Not just in our community, but in society, and why these conversations will but there's still so much time for us to continue to have these conversations and continue to look for ways to combat those things, right? Because it's just so clear that this is still an issue, that it's still a very sensitive subject for a lot of people involved. And it's like, what do we need to do to get out of that mindset? Like, how do we break the chains? How do we get people just looking at each other uniquely for who we are and not for like what was on the surface?
Well, I have to say this too. I mean, and 20 years ago, we all remember what BET looked like.
Oh yeah.
BET had a certain look.
What do you mean?
They was light skinned. The only one I'm still trying to figure out how Donnie Simpson got
No,
eyes.
Okay, so when you say that, you have to give some reference because he's talking about the 90s of AJ Free.
That's why I said what they look like.
Before that. We're talking about
we couldn't afford cable.
Right. So back in the day,
back
it was
in
like,
the day,
I guess that was more like the 80s.
That was when Donnie Simpson had his show and he was hosting. And,
see, y'all bougie, I had money. I'm bougie.
Now, I don't know about that.
We were talking about that.
We didn't have the little box.
A and B, the A and B section.
Mm-hmm, the little
had to
box,
push the
that
button.
round box.
Cable.
Yeah, it was Comcast
I
back
don't know
then.
if it was Comcast, but basically,
Yeah.
BET had a certain look, and if you were not of the fair skin,
But that was
you
based
would
on
like-
Bob Johnson's preference.
and
at
thought
the
and
time.
ideas at the time.
I guess
Right.
I returned these or something.
No, I'm not gonna go into
That
that
was
reference. I mean, that was shade thrown over there, but I'm gonna keep it on BET for now. BET has been taken over by Viacom. You know, Bob Johnson. They sold. They made the shit. He's making millions, billions, and whatever. But I'm talking about the images because at one point, growing up, going to college, it was all about the light skinned chicks.
Right.
You know, that's when we grew up. It was like all about and then I remember getting into college and it was like, wow. Yeah, I mean, I did, you know, and then when I got to college, I woke up and saw I did. I mean, because on every video, every movie, like New Jack City, I can't remember. All of it, that was the aspiration, that was the look, and that's all we saw.
The power of media.
The power of media. But then when I got to college and saw all these beautiful brown sisters, it was like, oh my God, I've been missing out all this.
Like, and they fly.
I mean, but I think but even in that statement right there, it's saying so much. And the statement, you have to look at it. There was nothing wrong with dating a light-skinned black woman. And there's nothing wrong with dating a brown-skinned black woman or a dark-skinned black woman. The point is that society led us to believe that one was more preferred over the other.
Absolutely.
Because everybody, no matter what shade you are, even if you go outside your race, there's beautiful women and people everywhere.
Yes,
And that's the thing.
You better say that, girl. You better say that, girl.
That's the thing that we miss. I mean,
beautiful women.
you know, and I teach my son that. Like, love has no shade or color.
As long as you're loving somebody for the right reason.
Yeah.
Then
okay,
so my God, David,
segment next week, right? Next week.
But you said that so eloquently because no shade, just tea, Barry. But you made a comment. Look at all these beautiful brown sisters, and I understand that you're trying to highlight the fact that you were so long programmed to look at fair-skinned women, and you were programmed to not acknowledge the beauty of the brown-skinned woman. But I think dating expert, and this is me giving you. Hold on, this is me giving you. This is me giving you something to share with men. Don't ever walk up to me and tell me that I'm a beautiful brown woman. There's nothing complimentary about that comment. I'm either a beautiful woman or I'm not. And a lot of brothers think it's cute to be like, you a beautiful, sexy chocolate. And I'm like, I don't know if you're saying it to, like, I don't know, be complimentary, or are you saying it to, like, confirm something in yourself?
Right, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
They're not confirming.
Well, I mean, and
It kind of comes off like they're saying it to confirm something in themselves, like some blackness in themselves.
But that goes back to, even when I tell my son, love has no color, love who you want to love. And even if you choose to be with someone that's outside of your culture or of a different race, always be able to look back at your own people and see beauty. This is where, and that takes us like into that conversation where people are like, oh, well, you know, this black man is with someone of another race. I could care less, as long as he's not self-hating. It's those guys that I'm concerned for and feel sad for, because those are the ones that spew the negative things like, oh, I don't date people of this color because of this, that, and the other. Well, that's your thing, and that has to do with you. That has nothing to do with nobody else but you. That's your own mess that you need to internally work out and get together. You better say it, girl.
I was just going to say that growing up, now, when you were talking, I was just thinking about the women who I liked growing up, you know, childhood crush and stuff. And like elementary, middle school, I always found darker skinned women more attractive. Like not on a general scale, but they would catch my eye more if they were attractive. They would catch my eye more than the light skinned girl who was attractive.
Mm-hmm.
That was just my.
That's your
and
preference.
there's nothing wrong with
It's not
having
my
a
preference. It's
preference.
just that it to me it's like I like beautiful women. It doesn't that doesn't matter across the board.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw attractive dark skinned women, it seemed to invoke more of an image to me.
And that's okay.
And I had all but even like one of the shows I watched as a kid was Saved by the Bell, and they had the old girl Lark Voorhees on there.
Lark Voorhees.
Oh my Lord, this was so beautiful. I was like, good God, get her off that show and holler. Now she's like crazy or something. Now she's not crazy anymore.
Mental health issues.
No, she suffers from being bipolar. Having mental health issues.
I
And it went undiagnosed for a long time.
I think that's not what it was. I think what it was the fact she was a childhood celebrity. And a lot
That
of
probably
these
had a lot
childhood
to do
celebrities.
with it.
Yeah, because you're kind of thrust into the limelight, and then once that's gone, you don't really know how to operate. I'm just a regular person. Not regular person, but I'm just a regular person.
Yeah.
I don't got a whole crew of people doing this and doing that.
Well, I mean, it goes back to
So it might be that.
your circle and the people of support you had there to support you, and she had her parents, her mother, and her mother wasn't, according to articles, not really there for her either in the way that she needed her to be.
So in 2019, we are acknowledging that beauty exists everywhere.
Oh yeah, everywhere. Love
And
who you want to love,
as
no
long-
matter what color, race.
And you said it very eloquently, Therese. You said the concern is not someone who dates outside their race. Your concern is the person who dates outside their race and self-hates.
Yeah.
And doesn't have the ability to see the beauty in who they are, and as such, not see the beauty in their race.
Yeah, that's the.
Let me just recap real quick because we do have some extra folks that actually started chiming in and watching. So we are talking about right now the Blackish episode where colorism and being a colorist inside of our own race, where we kind of show less love or more love for light or darker skin tones. So for those of Big Terry, thanks for chiming in. I see over there, Derek, thank you for chiming in as well and watching. But that's the subject we're talking about, and it's getting heated because I can still feel the shade that Kev is throwing over here to Lauren B.
Well, Lauren, you got to remember. So we had these images that we saw on TV. School Days. That was my movie growing up. Okay, and School Days epitomized, and actually, when I say epitomize it more so made fun of those stereotypes. Because part of it was true depending on what university you were at, which HBCU you were at.
And Spike Lee went to Morehouse.
Right.
Yes.
And then there was also to bring it to light to have the conversation. The same thing that Blackish and Grownish does. They bring these things out because now we have a platform where we can reach more people, so we get to talk to more people of other color, but we also get to bring other cultures in on things that they have no knowledge of and no understanding of. And they get to see it and they're like, oh wow, how many of you have coworkers or people that, are outside of your race? And they're like, I love Blackish, and they say it like that because they're waiting to see what your response is. Are you gonna be like, I like Blackish too?
It's actually interesting that you brought up School Days. I'm so happy that you brought up School Days because I literally threw a Greek mixer on Thursday night for a couple of the students who live on my property that I oversee. And so all of the kids came out, and I told them all they had to wear their paraphernalia and everything, whatever. So they all came out. We had the cues out there.
Their Greek paraphernalia.
Their Greek paraphernalia. We had the
Not
cues.
the weed paraphernalia.
Not the weed.
We had my sorors, we had the AKAs come out, the deltas, and it was funny to your point to hear us all kind of poke fun at all the stereotypes because we were doing that during the mixer. Like the cues was like, AKA sure know how to serve a man because I had put it together, the food was right. My sorors was like, we always do it right. The K's always coming through, right? So, and one of them said something to the extent of, AKAs were bougie, and the deltas a little more real, down to earth. They sisters, they fight, and I just I was offended for both. Sororities, because I feel like we have equal levels of class, integrity, and character, period, point blank. That being said, you bringing up School Days is right on par. Like, it just reminds me again how this conversation has to continue to happen because the stereotypes are still lingering there in our community.
Lingering or there?
Well, think about
They're there.
They're there.
They're there.
I mean, we're just having a conversation. Blackish brought it up, and we weren't even talking about fraternities or sororities. We're still looking at people.
Oh no, because you can't talk about fraternities and sororities on TV. Those shows get pulled.
Yes, they do.
Because you got, you know, they send emails and letters and they protest and stand outside your
Black
building
Twitter
and
is
stuff.
fierce.
Well, think about this. I want to get this interesting, kind of a different thought. When you are very, very fair-skinned as a black person, to some degree, you have to prove your blackness even more.
And I feel like it goes overboard sometimes.
And that's what I'm kind of getting to. Sometimes you have to over exert yourself. Like, remember the light-skinned dude that was on a different world?
Ron?
Not him. It was the other dude. He was always wearing the dashikis and stuff.
Oh,
he was like a side character. He wasn't the main dude. But he was always trying to he was power to the people all the time.
He had some strong names like Mustafa.
Oh, the dreads
that we all drooled over.
But even with someone like you think about now, what's that dude named Sean King? The dude that's always talking about black people issues on Twitter and stuff? Sean King.
Where you going with a conversation?
I'm just saying
because I like Sean King, and I was
I'm not saying that.
Okay,
If you just let me talk. I'm just saying that he has become a very heavy voice for black people when there have been black people darker than him who have been doing the same thing, and yet they're not always esteemed to the same degree, I would say. Like think about Marc Lamont Hill. He's a little darker than me, and so he's been CNN correspondent stuff. But when you talk about larger scale issues, now they're both reporters. You know that's their trade. It seems to be that when Sean Hill,
Marc Lamont Hill has, in my own opinion, has a way larger reach than Sean King does.
You think so?
Absolutely. He's national. He's not just in the black community, but he's nationally known.
So Sean King, he's the one that brought. He's the one that brought.
I think more people know Hill than they know King when you're talking about people who don't know issues. For the person who doesn't know, who's not in tune or who's not plugged into news and things like that, they would more recognize Hill because he has been on CNN, he's been on MSNBC, he's been on BET, he had a show on VH1 for a little while. They would know his face way more than they know.
How old is he?
Hill?
Yeah.
I don't know how old he is.
Hey man, you gotta give us some health tips, dude, because the dude don't age, man. Him and Pharrell.
But they did that on the 10-year challenge with Pharrell. It was like, I was like, same picture.
So I don't know.
They're like a big kid for years, right?
Hey, let me just say this. Liddell, thanks for chiming in. And she was talking about light skin, green eyes. He's on point. Shaza.
There you go, Shaza. Thank you, Liddell. I know somebody out there would know. I mean, but even if you think about it on a different level, so this just isn't a black issue, African American issue, because I had a good girlfriend when I lived in Houston, and she was actually Korean and black.
Yes.
And she said growing up it was hard for her because she spent some time living in Korea with her Korean mother.
Yes.
And Korean people did not accept her because she was considered a half-breed by their terms.
Yes.
She said she actually had to go to the hospital because a Korean man had cracked a broom over her head. They treated her like that bad. But then on this other side, back in America, the little black girls didn't want to play with her because she had long hair, fair skin. And it's like, oh, you think you're cute.
Yeah.
You think you're better than everybody else. So you don't have to get your hair pressed or straightened. And so you think about that, it happens across cultures. Because even if you take the black part out of the mix, when you take people that are of different Asian descents, that, you know,
like in India, when you see the whiting posters everywhere, and they still have a caste system in India, and typically the people on the bottom of the caste system are darker skinned Indians, and Brazil's like that, but it's like that in Korea, it's like that in China too. You actually do have dark skinned Chinese people, dark skinned Korean people, and so forth, and they deal with the same issues that we deal with in the black community when it comes to colorism. And that's
Well,
because
that's
of colonism.
That's all I'm about to
Yeah,
say.
yeah, I was gonna say
That is because the Europeans went around colonizing everybody and they put themselves on the pedestal, and so everybody was affected by that colonism period. And now here we are, all wanting to reach our highest whiteness as possible. I'm not saying we do want to, but I'm just saying, like, theoretically speaking, you have communities of people across the world who think white is right.
Right.
And
No, that's what we were taught for the longest time.
Yeah.
Like even when you go, and again, I got to go back to the work world, where you assimilate so that you're more acceptable
Yes.
in certain places, so
Yes.
that I fit in better.
Right.
We have conversations like this all the time, where there's certain projects you may be on, and if you are a person of color and you are part of like kind of the right crew, and all the other black folks are looking at you, well, how'd you get in there?
Yeah.
Why they like you like that? What'd you do? What are you saying to them?
I had a job interview. My mother was like, "So you gonna wear your braids?" I said, "Yes,"
Well, the difference
because it was like you can't wear your braids to the job interview because you might not get the job because of your braids.
but now that's changed.
It has
Because it's
changed
everywhere,
My
right?
mother's in her 60s, but
Right.
but it has changed. But in her head, it was like, you need to go get a perm and go flat iron your hair and go do something with. Like, have you guys seen Napoli Ever After?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
we watched that.
I just got chills.
That
thinking
was
about
my mother was Lynn
Yep.
Whitfield. My mother was Lynn Whitfield. It was like, what you want to do with your hair,
Right.
And like, make sure your eyebrows is right. What you want to do with your nails, and it's all out of love. It's not out of
Oh, yeah,
self-hate
no,
or anything like that. It's not self-hate.
They think
You
that
know,
This is
want
the
to
best
be
thing
for
for
you,
you.
and they trying to get
exactly.
you.
It's her trying to make sure I'm looking the right way so that I can be in the right place.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that in this day and age, some of that is just our own stuff, right? My hair is natural, but I usually go get it washed and straightened. But there is a time where when I first cut it short and was wearing it always in its natural state, in its curly natural state, that before I would get ready to go back on the project, I would go get it straightened. Not because they said I had to, but it made me feel more comfortable in their space, that they wouldn't look at me like. And then one day came up where I didn't have the time to make it this long, so it was me rocking the natural, and I was so surprised that they were all just like, I love it. I love your hair. I got the stories of, back in the 60s, I used to rock a fro too, and I'm laughing like, seriously, what? Or I wore a perm to get my hair like yours. I wanted Donna Summer hair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to hear that from people of another culture, another race, you're sitting there like, okay, wow, so this is me.
You know, Alex Trebek used to
It
wear
is.
that.
But
Yes.
yes, he did. But part of that
That's
comes
wild.
from our experiences, because I've also worked in work environments where if I'd have worn that, someone would have said something.
And I
It
would
wouldn't have
say
been
that.
said directly to me. It would have been said to someone else to communicate to me.
I love the fact that we are changing in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
I love the fact that you can wear your braids to an interview.
Oh, yeah.
I love the fact that,
I
we
like
tend to
rocking
be-
big hoops, and I wear big hoops to work now.
I'm loving our new Congress right now, where so many women, they're pushing the envelope because they're not going in the traditional blue suit of what you used to have to do because that was how you conformed.
Right.
I love to see the change that we're having. I want more. I want to see more, and that's where all of us come in to make sure we can be more comfortable in our own skin.
We gotta have these conversations, and we gotta bring more people to the table to have these conversations. It can't just be, blacks talking to blacks about black issues. Yes, we understand that as a race of people, we have things to work on, and that is where that conversation is black on black. But then there's sometimes it's okay to bring other people in, just because a lot of things that go on are due to sheer ignorance. They just don't understand. They just have no knowledge of it.
I think it's the difference between sympathy and empathy.
Yeah.
Sympathy meaning you see something and you can kind of imagine and be like, oh, that's bad, but you're comfortable in your skin so you can just walk past it.
Yeah.
Whereas empathy is you really get an in-depth knowledge of the thing,
Yeah.
and then you're able to relate it to your own life,
Yeah.
and then act on some kind of change, like help the process of changing that person's circumstance.
Yeah.
That's the difference, is like just them being aware that black people have issues, but then
No.
actually coming to the table, sitting down, dissecting those issues, and then understanding what role they play in helping us overcome those obstacles.
Yeah, and I think that as a group of people, we have to be mindful too that while we have come from, an oppressed culture of people, that we've come so far, And even if we're talking about Blackish, they had the episode of when they were deciding whose family got to go have which holiday. And you know, Dre felt offended by those biracial family, the people of Caucasian that were Caucasian that didn't want to eat their food because they're like, well, you know, it's just a little high calorie, high fat. And they brought beets. And Dre was like, I'm offended. No, and he said that actually. That was actually his joke. He was like, beets by Dre? And they're like, no, beets. And he's like, you bring beets to my table. And he had that issue. And so one of them said,
I don't eat beets, you want cranberries.
No, he said,
you're missing the point.
The point, cultural. The thing that the guy said was after Dre had his whole, rant about the beets, the guy said, I bring beets because that's all my grandmother, back during when she was escaping
Nazis.
The Nazi camp, that's it. That's what she had.
The cans were the easiest things to grab and carry.
Exactly. And he said, that's what we ate. And he said, and I do that as a remembrance to her, and so my children can experience
their legacy.
And but the funny thing was, Dre had to take a seat.
He had to sit down.
Okay, so here's the issue.
He was like, well, give me a beat. Let me just try.
Here's something I see about that. Why is it that then, I guess, because I don't watch the show, and it's not because I don't want to, it's just I don't really watch TV that much. So I'm assuming that Dre is this black kid.
Dre is
Anthony Anderson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why is it that he had to be sensitive to that experience, but if he said, the fact that you're saying that my food is high calorie, high fat, that's what you slave.
No, that's not around, and he explained that. So they all ate
I was wondering why we still eat it.
They all ate each other's food.
I just wonder why we still eat it. Like, seriously, why are you still eating chitlins?
Some of it is good.
I don't know.
There's a video.
I do not eat
Look, there is a
chitlins.
video that I saw on Twitter where they were cleaning chitlins. And if you think it's disgusting, you know it is exactly what you think it is.
It is.
And I'm like,
absolutely
dude,
right.
that looks horrendous.
But you also have to realize, and this is what most people fail to, this is what most people miss. It's just not a staple in the African American community. Chinese people eat it too. And other cultures where they do not waste any part of the animal, it's eaten too. So it's not like, oh, it's a black thing. What might have happened in the black community is we actually made it taste good.
No, we was fed that shit. No, we was fed that shit, though.
She tried it.
So what I'm saying is,
shade.
You don't waste it if you throw it into a compost pile.
It wasn't. So you have to think about it.
Eat the ham and the
So it wasn't so much as that's what they were fed. That's what they were given. They were given the scraps.
Exactly.
So they had to take the scraps and survive.
That's why it's whole pieces.
And that's why it's heavy with fat.
That's
It's heavy with salt. Because you had to take something that basically had no flavor, had nothing, and make it something so that you and your family could sustain. I mean, you ever had pig feet? That's just like gelatinous stickiness, and I watch people
is gelatinous stickiness, and I used to eat it growing up.
I watch people cook it and put all this seasoning in it, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't eat pig feet, but I'm gonna try it because that look good. Taste, and I'm just like, no, just gelatinous stickiness. Thank you. And I'm not knocking anybody.
It tastes like cholesterol. It tastes like a fucking
but I'm also the person who doesn't like steak fat either. So
oh no, you gotta get that fat on that rib.
here's my thing.
Turn it off.
But my point, I'm not knocking anyone who eats those things because I understand culturally where it comes from. All I'm saying is the conversation has to be broadened, and we just got to bring more people to the table. No, we don't need your handouts. We don't need you to do these things. We just need to have the conversation so that it's not so awkward, so it's not uncomfortable, and so that we're not socially insensitive to one another. Because I think that's really what it comes down to is social and sensitivity, where you're just like, wow, why would you?
When you know better, you do better.
Indeed.
You know.
I just want to end it with this because we were supposed to be doing like a 30-minute show, but we got so into this, and we're at about 51 minutes, and we are just because it's easier, you know. But just so you know, we are going to be having a show. We're having a show every week. Okay. Sometimes it'll be live, sometimes it'll be taped. So we're actually going to make sure we're going to put it out there for you. The other thing to it is thank you very much everyone who's chiming in. Thank you very much, Lindell, for letting us know it was Shaza. That's it.
Shaza.
And all your comments. And Lindell, you are truly black, girl. I mean, hands up. Seriously.
Yeah, I was gonna say right there. We all know light-skinned people that I think are sometimes in some cases I'm like, oh, you are way more black than I could ever be.
That's what I said, though.
You've got your black card, and I can't take that from you.
Yeah, that's nothing at all.
Have
Somebody
no
just question
intention
my
of
blackness.
challenging you with your blackness.
Right.
And I mean, you
But
just
I,
can't
that's
be
what I'm
that
saying. But I think it was
stereotype.
that the need of being I am what I am, even if you don't see it.
Oh yeah.
Versus me walking out, and I'm not the darkest guy, but I knew, like when I was in elementary school, I was in the tag program.
Mm-hmm.
So all the people in my bus stop was white kids.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was black, so I didn't have to overly assert that I do not conform. I don't fit in with y'all. It was obvious to me. They used to throw snowballs with rocks in them at me.
Oh my.
Because I was the black kid. It wasn't because I was the young kid. That's what. So I knew I was not like them. It wasn't no ifs and or buts about that.
Right.
And that was my experience going into classes where one out of it may have been 2 out of 28 kids was black. So it was me and this one other kid. I'm always had mostly white teachers, and so they're always pinpointing me as the problem kid. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And that was my whole experience.
No, I'm serious.
Well, I ain't nobody at home to talk to you. I mean, like, you want to talk to kids. Like, if you were a kid, you want to talk to kids. When you see kids, in school.
No.
But that was, it was obvious to me. But if I was very, very light-skinned, I may have fit in and blended in a little bit. Or maybe even parents may have made me do that to kind of conform to it. So I kind of flew under the radar about doing that. Now, my household, we didn't grow up with a lot of, I would say, black cultural reference, and it wasn't anti. It was just that we just didn't do it. My father was, Marine, life Marine, but even that we didn't have like a bunch of American flags around. So he just wasn't into, showcasing the bravado.
Right.
I had to learn it on my own. I used to like reading the books, and my grandmother had bought me a set of books and talked about different people in black history and stuff like that, and I just enjoyed to look at it, and I wondered why. We didn't talk so much about it in my classes. We always talked about, like, I remember going to the Holocaust Museum when I was in 5th grade or something like that. I do remember we went to the Black and White Museum here in Baltimore when I was a kid. I felt so the feeling, the imagery.
When you go in that place?
Yes. They walk you right in. They walk you right in.
I was
I was too young for that.
They walk you right in the slave ship, and I was shook. I was
probably 13. So at 13, it shook me at 13.
I was 22, and I was like, no, I'm feeling like a certain type of way.
Then they had the arms reaching out at you.
Yes.
It's like,
when you kind of
first walk into the slave ship,
It's
you
the
in the
ship.
bow.
Like when you see how they have folks laid out, I was like,
you are in the bow of the
Actually,
slave
haven't been
ship.
there yet.
I've
never been there. I've heard stories about it.
I haven't been to the Black Museum in DC,
I haven't been
but I
there
think
either.
this experience is way more palpable.
That's what I heard.
That shit is
That's what I heard. I mean, I just think that everything we've said has been great, and I think that we need to keep having those conversations, because the biggest thing that at least I know I find is that the more conversations you have, the more it opens up, so that, because we live in this world where when we talk about our issues as a culture of people look and they're like, oh, it's like, it's almost like, here we go again, or as I was told once, you're always talking about race. It's always a color issue. Well, really, that's my world. I can't live without there being a color issue. Not because that's what I want to keep going on.
This is why I love this woman.
But that's the reality of it. You know what I mean? And I am that person that if you ask me, we're going to talk. Like, don't start the conversation if you're not comfortable with me. And it's not because I want it to continue to be
it's
that,
my world.
But that's my world.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, this will not be our children's world.
It won't.
Because right now, our little kids go to school with kids of other color, and all they see is a kid.
Well, that's all we did, but that's all we did until we got older and started realizing the systems at play.
So if you look at
ain't nothing changed. Donald Trump is in power.
So
right
Donald
now.
Trump is in power, but still, if you look at and I forget what the exact number of, but the percentage of those people is so much smaller than he's making it seem like it's bigger than what it is.
But it was always small. They just have the authoritative.
Right.
You only see that, you only see that because ICE ain't knocking at your door.
No, true. I get that.
That's why you see it as, well, my kids can go with the white kids.
No,
because
that's
you don't
not
have the fear of them going to try to figure, are you a real American citizen?
Oh no, I I totally get
It'll
it.
probably
I
come at
totally
some
get
point.
it. I
This
have
dude is
people
like
that I
one step below
completely
nonsense.
understand. But what I'm saying is, in this generation of millennials, they don't see it like how we experienced it. I remember being a little girl driving through Montana and having a Caucasian little girl say to me, "Why is your skin so dirty?"
We was in Montana.
So
You
dirty.
should have said why your sister.
The point is, my skin wasn't dirty. I hadn't been playing in the dirt. I was
said
clean.
dark. I think you
No,
said dark.
dirty.
Oh, I said
She
dirty.
did not have not seen anyone that looked like me before. Whereas in this world and in this generation, it's different.
I want
There is
my
a
kids.
difference.
I want my kids to be very aware and very knowledgeable. I talk about me and my son specifically because he's 10. Talk about race all
yeah.
the time
No.
for a reason, because he's a boy and he's black.
Yeah.
Or he's black
No,
and he's a
you have
boy.
to have
Either way,
the
either one of them.
clarification, yes.
But we literally talk about it all of the time. I let the little boy ask me whatever he wants to, because
Definitely.
he needs to understand what he is walking into. And at the end of the day, the majority, as they like to consider themselves, still has the authoritative power when it comes
You're
to
absolutely
hiring practices, when it comes to creating policies that run around land,
Corporate culture.
corporate cultures. They still have the authoritative power, and I have to assume that they mean him harm because of what's happening right now. And because I have to assume that they mean him harm, and because I have to assume that they don't want to see my young black boy excel, I have to prepare him that way. He
For
has
every
to know
contingency.
for every
Think about
contingency.
So I'm not saying that racism goes away.
No.
I'm
I
saying
know
that
you're saying that.
their reality of racism versus ours
Yes.
versus our parents'
Yes.
reality
Yes.
is going to be
It's gonna be
different.
different.
It
It's
will be
worse.
lessened.
No, it won't be. It will be worse, because now it is covert. It is masked. It is veiled. It ain't overt. It ain't.
Oh,
I don't
I know
like you
that.
black people.
Well, see, I think it used to be
DC.
covert. Now it's
No.
It's in your face.
I think it's in your
Jim
face.
Crow. No, it was in your face Jim Crow era.
Yeah.
Now you got white liberals who will say things about what your experience
Here's why
is without
it's-
listening to
here's why
your
it's kind
experience.
of covert now.
Ain't
The
no
reason that
kind
it's
of-
kind of covert now is because of the policies.
They use policies. If you're
And that's
awake,
what
to
makes it
pretend-
covert.
They
And
use
that's what makes
policies
it
to
covert.
pretend that we are all equal, right? Because they're trying to challenge affirmative action, and they're trying to say that we no longer need it because we
I
have
never agreed
policies
with
that have created equality. But what black people have been asking for, which most people I think can agree with, is not equality. We've been asking for equity.
Yeah.
We're saying that you started in front of us 2,000 miles.
Well, so
So you have to now you have to put some blocks there so that we can now be on the same page.
Yes,
Equality is
but-
not policies that
Oh,
say
we
we
definitely
all
want
treat
equality.
fairly. You need affirmative action because affirmative action guarantees equity, not equality.
Yeah, but
but we
here's
don't
the-
need equality, we need equity.
But the problem, okay, so the problem with that, the root of it is when black people were free, they started creating their own communities, building their own businesses, going back to Tulsa, Oklahoma in the 1900s, right? Integration is what makes us feel behind, because
We
we are
never
looking
wanted
at people.
integration, though.
There are a lot of people who were just
Yeah.
celebrating certain person's birthday a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
who
so,
are
I mean, when you go
integrationists.
into that
And
whole-
I am under the experience where if they don't want you in their race, you make your own race.
So
You
now we're
run your
going
own
down a
race.
different barrel.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
And let me
we
just
are.
stop this. I want you everybody to kind of
We
give
should watch.
everyone our closing thoughts. Because we're going to close it out. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in, because it's like this is probably some of the best dialogue we've had in quite some time, and viewers and everyone chiming in. So thank you very much. I appreciate it very much. Big shout out to Shay. I see you, bruh. Lindell, thank you again for all that chiming in. I appreciate you. Can't wait for you to come on down, be part of the show officially. I see you, Glenda, Adina. What's going on? Derica, Monica, Terry, my man. Appreciate you, bruh. And closing thoughts, starting with Kev. What do you want to close it out with?
I don't want to stop. You go down left.
All right, come on. How you want to close it out?
I'm just
I
understanding.
think, well, this is the first show that we're doing of 2019, and I'm always like thinking objectives, goals, et cetera, et cetera. Similar to what I said earlier, just making sure that when we are approaching people, we're approaching them with a unique thought. We're approaching every situation with a unique thought. Letting go of stereotypes. I think that's going to help to improve our community.
Why you
I'm trying to sound so diplomatic. They are all getting on my nerves.
Release the social contract.
I am
Say what's on
releasing
your
the
heart,
filter
man.
and the
Say what's
veil.
on your heart. Release the social contract.
I don't know what's
How I'm talking about your light-skinned family members. Don't be going on them.
And
In 2019, we need to love each other more.
there we go. Closing thought.
My closing thought is that the conversations have to be had, and we have to get more comfortable with having the conversations, but also broadening the conversations. It's not just us, and until we can, address that and be comfortable with addressing that we're going to continue to be in the same place where we are today.
Yeah.
I'm a proponent of free speech. You have the right, I believe you got the right to say what you want, but just feel free to have the right to get the repercussions that you get.
Okay, I'm gonna use my closing thought now. Only thing I will say is this: stop the crabs in the barrel mentality.
Yeah.
Stop and take advantage of the fact that we are all powerful together.
Yep.
I'll be crab getting that barrel.
Well,
Oh, God. We'll take him down the
see, now,
barrel.
but I will tell you this. This brother loves conspiracy theories. And we're going to get into that.
We're going to talk about that another
show. But thank you again for tuning in. This is our first show. I wanted this year to start off with kind of a renaissance, a rebirth. I'm feeling it right now with the energy that we're having up here. Thank you for everyone that's chiming in and watching us. We're going to be doing this again. We're probably, since this is an hour-long show, we're probably going to break it up and put half of it on for next week. But every week, expect a show from us, and we're going to be out. Appreciate it.
No, down the line, let's just do our tags so people
Oh, you can follow me on.
It's been on. By the time it didn't just go off.
Hello? It just sounds like hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? No? Okay. Hello? See? That's on. See? You can follow me on Instagram at LBW1908. And then on Facebook, it's just my name, Lauren Benny Williams. And on Twitter, Middle of USA.
I'm introverted Kev on every social media platform. And YouTube.
So yeah, on Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Your One True Blue. You are #1 TRU. Here, let me help you out a little bit.
It hit the sun hit the fade, and I was like, oh.
At Your One True Blue. You are #1 TRU. BLU on Instagram and on Twitter, and what am I on Facebook? Facebook is like just my scroll thing. I think I'm like, what am I? Oh, my name, Sharice. There you go.
And just for the Culture Divide experiment, you can follow us on Facebook at The Culture Divide, which most of you are already doing that. Instagram at The Culture Divide, and on Twitter at The Cultural EXP. All right, thank you again, folks.
I'm very spoke.
I have to stop that. That's something else about another growth thing I'm doing from my hustle.
Okay.
All right. Hey, thanks again, Facebook Live. Thanks again to the RL Hotel, the Living Stage. We appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.
I was telling this lady, like, her 60.